This episode of Gunfighter Cast is brought to you by Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter. Cabela's is a strong supporter of your right to keep and bear arms, which is why they support Gunfighter Cast. Whether you need guns and ammo or a new smoker, go visit Cabela's.com for all your shooting, hunting, fishing, and outdoor needs. Hello, welcome to Gunfighter Cast, episode number 121. I'm here with Cy and Lauren Hudson that have done something really, really cool. How you guys doing?
Doing all right. How about you, Daniel?
I'm awesome. You guys seem pretty awesome too. You guys are incredibly busy right now with your recent launch. We're going to talk all about that recent launch and the Hudson H9 and Hudson Manufacturing, the company itself, right after this. Hey guys, Daniel here. I want to invite you to go check out Bootleg Inc. at bootleginc.com. Bootleg has top quality products for everything that you need to build a solid AR. Bootleg is the sister company to Primary Weapon Systems and contains a searchable database with everything you need to know to build an AR. Go check them out at bootleginc.com. Welcome back. Tell me a little bit about Hudson Manufacturing. What is that?
Hudson Manufacturing, that is, well, for legal purposes, holds our FFL, but it's where we're going to test R&D and make sure that all the pistols that we're going to ship get thoroughly vetted before we put them out on the market. So
it's our new brand. It's what obviously it's our last name. So
you like it?
Yeah, I'm a fan.
The name itself, we did a fair amount of research. We had a lot of people that encouraged us to go and do something, tactical, trendy,
high speed sounding.
And with how we knew we were going to go into a very, very competitive market, the pistol market itself is very competitive. We wanted something that would be more lasting. And if you look at the big names, or the names that have stuck around for a while, Smith, Wesson, Remington, Colt, Ruger, their last names. So we said, all right, I think we can do that, and I think we can incorporate that into some branding, though, that is more of a modern take, put some edge into it, and really blend a little bit into our brand itself. The H logo is supposed to be a bit of a new, cool-looking brand, but it's also can be a cattle brand if you really want it to be.
Yeah, it's kind of a modern take on a cow brand. We are Texans. We're very proud of that. We've got some Longhorns in our family, so it's kind of exciting. Where we like to keep a little bit of that heritage around.
That's cool. As an entrepreneur myself and a student of business and a constant student of marketing as well, you're looking at the other brands that have been successful and had the lasting power and everything else. I think that's a good look, and it's important. But I think what's more important in today's business landscape and the firearms community as well is honest and upfront companies. You guys are like literally a mom and pop handgun shop, right? I mean, that's what you are. So I think that's absolutely perfect for the name to be named after you. What is day-to-day life at Hudson Manufacturing for the last 3 years? You've been working on the H9, probably some other things. And, what just kind of like the goals or ethics and philosophy of the company, I guess you could say, or vision?
So the last 3.5 years have gone through so many different milestones. We actually started in Alaska when we knew Cy was going to get out of the Army. And kind of... Hudson Manufacturing was a little bit born in our living room, where there's pretty much just, 24 hours of darkness, negative 60 degrees outside in Fairbanks, Alaska, and Netflix, guns broken apart on the table, that sort of thing. That was the initial day-to-day life of Hudson in the evenings, and then he was, full-time Army during the day. And when he did eventually transition out, we moved home to Texas, working out of our house. We were doing this full time, and jump ahead to early 2016. I was going to say this year. I forgot we just had a new year. And
I keep forgetting that too.
Yeah. So after we had gotten through our last iteration of the design and had funding behind us, we got our facility in Temple, Texas, and that has been day to day recently. So we brought on our first hire back in April, and it's been about getting ourselves set up there.
Yeah, I mean, a day-to-day operation, I would say as a startup, we are not in steady state operations, meaning that at any point, if there's a quality issue, if there's anything with a machine shop that they need engineering support, anything that we're doing, somebody might be in Kentucky one week, they might be in Michigan another, Florida another, and we all stay in constant contact. And it's been very, I'll use the word exciting.
Dynamic.
That's a really good one. You know,
yeah. We don't have a same day. No given Monday is the same as the next. We do have a small team starting off with. It's very important to have a really, really good core team with, getting that synergy right.
So you're the designers?
Yep. Lauren and I have been part of that for 3.5 years. Where we started is very different where we've ended up, and we're excited to show. We decided we're going to bring what we call the brick and the boat anchor, which are the Gen 1 and Gen 2 prototypes, out to SHOT. It was a very, very rough start. A lot of great ideas, a lot of stuff went into it, but where we ended up, very, very different. You can watch our little teaser video, and those lines we said were actually very true. Where we ended up is very different from where we started.
That's cool. I mean, I just think it's awesome when somebody has an idea. Like I'm an idea guy, and I come up with ideas, and then I go after them 100% and put all my time and effort into them. And sometimes they work out and they're magical. Sometimes I fall right on my face, but I always learn from it. And it's we're in a country where if you have a good idea, and you're willing to go put out the work, and you guys found funding and you went and got that done, and then now you got a product that's launching at SHOT Show that's one of the most covered things that I've seen in recent SHOT Shows for pre-show. So that's awesome, man. And you did that in 3 years, and you got out of the Army and did it all from your living room. It's really cool. I'm excited about it. I'm excited for you.
Thank you. That's we're really excited to finally share it. We have not talked about this for 3.5 years, have not shown pictures. Everybody's asking us, so what do y'all do? And we're like,
It was very intentional to stay under the radar for us. We had, you go through the periods of, no, it's still not ready yet. No, it's still not ready yet. And I definitely don't want to tell somebody smarter than me in the industry yet that I have it exactly where I want it. So,
I can't imagine if pictures had leaked of the Gen 2.
It would have hurt.
We'd have been dead on arrival. It was not ready.
Nope.
Nowhere near. So,
well, we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to get right back, and we're going to talk about that new exciting product, the H9. If you're in the market for the absolute best 1911 handguns and accessories, look no further than Nighthawk Custom. Nighthawk has over 36 flavors of top quality custom 1911s, and they definitely have one for you. These are custom handmade 1911s. Each gun is made from start to finish by a single gunsmith. Nighthawk's slogan and philosophy is one gun, one gunsmith. Now, owning the world's finest 1911 has never been easier. Go to www.nighthawkcustom.com and finance your Nighthawk Custom 1911 today. All right, welcome back. It's Hudson Manufacturing H9. Why does this gun exist? Why did you work so hard on this gun?
Oh, there's the question. We started with the idea that we love our 1911s. And the reason I love the 1911 so much is the trigger. The trigger moves straight forward and back. It disturbs my shot process the least. The background where I shot the most every day for years, I was on the West Point pistol team, and that's what we did is we worked on shot process. It's Olympic style shooting. It's boring, but you have to have a good shot process.
You're talking like service pistol matches, arm out to your right side, hand in your pocket.
That is correct.
Yeah,
60 shots over
myself.
Hour and 45 minutes doing the same exact thing 60 times. So that informed a lot of that. But the pistols always found, or Lauren and I both found ourselves carrying were the striker guns. M&P Shield. We were big M&P shooters. A Bowie Tactical made me one after I trained at TDI back whenever I was a cadet. So that stuff mattered. Once we realized we were on this path, we were like, why don't why doesn't someone seem to put striker fire reliability with that crisp 1911 trigger?
There were a lot of those hypothetical questions, and most of those conversations end with, well, somebody probably thought that all the way through, and, you know, if it could be done, it would have been. And I think probably if you rewound 4 years, that was the conversation we were having back then, and kind of just departing from that and leaving it at that, carrying our striker fires and leaving our 1911s in the bedside table, and that was how that was it.
Yeah, that's what we were doing. And so as we went through it, we decided, okay, we're going to go through this. We're going to take the leap. We're going to hire engineers. And we focused on reducing the bore axis. I think that was in vogue at the time with all the recoil magazine. And
yeah, and, you know, we would take screenshots. Him and I don't know how to run CAD ourselves, so we'd have screenshots with the, you know, little paint application open and PowerPoint open, and had hypothetical frames.
Wait a second. You designed the Hudson H9 in Microsoft Paint.
Oh,
PowerPoint. Yeah.
And we took some of that little eraser magic that they had there and started doing some of those hypothetical exercises of, let me just drop that barrel right on top of the hand.
Man, we're going to get skewered for that. Oh, that's going to be hilarious.
It is going to be hilarious. Like every graphic designer, they're cringing right now, and CAD writers.
Hey, fair's fair, infantry officer. I know PowerPoint, okay?
Oh, yeah.
I know PowerPoint.
Oh, absolutely. Totally.
So he dropped that barrel there, and then it was, well, where's all the other junk go? You know, and we were trying to throw away all of the initial convention on this is where things have to be placed. We know some of the rules that, you know, need to be met at a minimum, but trying to approach it from, let's not do it exactly how it's always been done. Let's keep some of the same, you know, physical, mechanical principles that we have to, but
I mean, we wanted to keep that full-size slide. We wanted to make sure that you still had the grip purchase and everything that, you know, and the weapon slide manipulation, so you could have a good purchase. But we dropped it right on top of the grip, right above the trigger guard. I mean, whenever you look at it, really realize how little distance there is between the top of the trigger guard and the bottom of the slide. So we had no room for our camming surfaces to be, which moved forward. They moved forward, and we put a takedown lever, a rotating takedown lever for that to rest on, and that had to be decently beefy because it was a new barrel system. We don't want to freak everybody out, you know, to think about the new stuff, but yeah, that's a new patent pending barrel system and camming surfaces you got in there, utilizing the big surface cams from what the SIG 226 popularized and, you know, Webley 1912 back in the day did, that big one camming surface, but we had to have that resting surface. And that's what drove the recoil spring mechanism further down below it. And that was really, you know, everybody's like, they better have a good reason for doing that stuff.
And
yeah, they're going to get you.
Well, and so, you know, we were looking at it and said, okay, yeah, you can put it there. And, you know, when we were thinking on how that would actually function, you know, okay, you're going to possibly have a shorter spring up there. You know, if you're going to continue to have a full-size slide, you're going to have a shorter spring up there. And I have a bit of a math and physics background, and we were sitting there looking at the direction of the forces, and it's right there in the meat of your hand. You know, I mean, instead of having this spring that is going to create a recoil impulse that whips over the top of your wrist, create torque in that rotation, it's now going to pull straight back into your major muscle groups. So we really then started focusing everything in the design about trying to create that single axis motion, so the least disruption to your shot process. You've got that really low bore axis, you've got the straight 1911 style trigger pull, you've got the recoil spring placement where it is, and all of that is about creating this very flat shooting single axis shot process.
Yeah, and for everyone who, I think a lot of people were saying that we were trying to say this is a 1911. It is not a 1911. It is a new design, but it's a 1911 style trigger. And how we define that is a trigger with all rotation moved into the sear with a straight movement yoked trigger face. And leaving it at that, that's why we call it a 1911 style trigger. Ours also has those design elements.
I think that's what I'm seeing on the internet. People are most excited about right now is a striker fire gun, that striker fire reliability with the 1911 trigger. And it just makes sense. The 1911 is the trigger that pretty much all triggers are measured against. It's just that straight back to the rear, perfect release of the hammer. It's awesome. And getting that in the striker, I am interested in taking this thing apart and seeing what you did. Mainly just because I know how the 1911 trigger works and I know how the striker trigger works. And to make that happen all together and work that striker, it's going to be interesting. We talked about the low bore axis, which it is in vogue still. Everybody loves that, except for the people who are just crazy about SIGs. They like that high bore axis stuff. I don't get it, but but some people do. Being able to shoot this thing repeatedly. We're talking self defense. I mean, this gun is made for defense and tactical, right? That's your market.
So we have a lot of people hitting us up. What is our market? Well, first off, we knew we could not come to market with another plastic gun. We would be an afterthought. There would be none of this buzz. But our market is really across a bunch of different sections. The price is more in line with what your SIG 226 Nitron, SIG 229. Our weight is also right there, or a production 1911 as far as cost. It is a steel framed gun. We have to have a higher cost in order to be able to afford the R&D to maybe look at different models that are more cost effective down the line. But our market really takes from a bunch of different people. It's the guy who's carrying a 1911 and 9mm and who wants to have maybe a more robust camming system in there, or have a striker fired gun instead, or the guy who's carrying a SIG 226 who wants a lower bore axis, or a guy who's carrying a CZ75 or competing with a CZ75 who would like a little bit more a grip purchase on the slide there. And just so everybody knows, we love all those guns. We own all of those. And all those design elements really came into play as we were doing. It is not a single action gun in the traditional sense. It's not a single action hammer fire, just how I'll say that. I guess some people could characterize our SEER design as single action. But it's not a double action, single action. So if those are your places where you live, now we're not going after your market, but we really want you to come over and try the trigger. That's really this gun is for everyone who wants it, whether it's someone who wants a really flat shooting gun for their bedside gun and they want that 15 round 9mm capacity with that Trigicon HD front sight for home defense, or whether they're someone who carries a SIG 226 or a 43 ounce single stack 1911 who wants more round capacity and who are fine with that weight. This is your carry gun. And the competition guys, I know a lot of these guys are excited about this. I know a couple worried about it being a shorter barrel. Come and shoot it. See how it stacks up, and as far as accuracy.
I want to see first-time female shooters trying this one also. I know a lot of times you go to a gun counter, as every single time I show up, guy wants to put the tiniest gun behind the counter in my hand.
Yeah, with like pink grips or something stupid. Yeah.
Right. It's too light. It snaps. And I think that actually turns away a lot of first-time shooters from really, wanting to learn about the shot process. Education is one of the really, really big core values we've got, and you will start to see through the branding on our site. We're going to have infographics out there. It's something that the Hudson brand wants to start supporting throughout the firearms industry. I know Cy didn't touch on that earlier when we were talking about the day-to-day stuff for us, but we're trying to make everyone a bit more comfortable with, accepting us as a new brand and familiarizing people with our product and getting, I guess, the overall messaging out there about anything from how to purchase a firearm. There's things that are left unsaid and a lot of
even understanding two-step distribution in our industry. I remember whenever I was first getting into guns, I'd go to Smith & Wesson's website and be like, why can't I buy a gun through their website? I mean, that was, many years ago, but that kind of education is really, really key. And a lot of things that people take for granted after they get into the industry, they started assuming everyone knows these things. Mm-hmm. But we got to figure out how to, push the experienced shooters further. And we've got to make sure we're educating and not mocking people who are still entering in. And to go back, Daniel, you asked earlier on what Hudson Manufacturing's core values. We have 5. And we tried to get down to 3, but we couldn't leave any of these out. One is professionalism, and that's simply us as a company. As a new startup, we wanted to focus on that, not only in how we shoot, but how we conduct business. 2 is actually shooting. We want this to be a company of people who actually shoot guns. We love shooting. We have not been able to do it as much as we wanted to, but
turns out starting the business takes a lot of time.
One of our first hires was our director of training, Chris Serino, and if anybody in the firearms community doesn't know, Chris is fighting his second bout with cancer right now. You can go on Facebook. Team Serino is their page, and you can support him there. We're going to support him through this. But
we're going to be missing him at SHOT Show, but we're going to be giving him shout outs the whole week. So.
Yep. Oh yeah, we got some fun stuff planned for that. And our third value is loyalty, and that actually matters a lot to us as a company. This is going to take a lot of loyalty, a lot of time, a lot of effort from our people. So we wanted to let them know if we're asking it of them, they're receiving it from us. 4 is quality. So that is a really big one right now. Everybody knows, hey, it's a new company. How much are they going to dedicate to making sure this product gets out the gate correctly? And for us, it meant investing our own testing facility, our own test range inside our facility, and getting people from the industry who know how to make sure this stuff happens correctly. And going to spend a lot of time and effort. This stuff will not ship before it's tested and made sure that it's ready to ship. That's our guarantee. And then number 5, education. Whether it's educating on the 4 rules of firearm safety or two-step distribution or why we made a design decision, actually talking to people actually matters. And, some people care, some people don't. Some people get on and troll you and say just stuff just to get a reaction, but that's not going to slow us down from actually talking to all the people who actually care to learn.
And I think the education standpoint is, with really, really explaining what we feel the benefits of the H9 are, I think that segues right back into your question about what market is this for. There's a lot of applications for everyone. Now, it's not the tiniest concealed option.
No, it is not.
But in that vein, from actually getting your hands on it and stuff, I know pictures can be deceiving. I think some people are worried that this thing has a monster grip. It's thin. One of our employees has super, super tiny hands, and she thinks that it fits perfectly. And then I've seen some guys with some really, really big hands.
Big meat hooks.
Yes. Talking about how it fits them perfectly. So from an education standpoint, I think there's a lot of applications across multiple markets.
I'm curious about a few other components of the gun. So what magazine are you using in this gun?
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. Okay, so it is a proprietary magazine, and I know everybody's been worried about that, but that's because how low the slide sits on the grip. So it had to be proprietary cuts in order for our reversible magazine release to fit in there and interface. However, the tube we used was a 5906 tube, which, if you know your history, that's based on the high power tube. So it's a proven tube with proprietary cuts. So we did not go out and design our own magazine. We used something that has already been proven, put through multiple generations out there, and they will not retail for greater than $34.99. That's from the CEO and COO.
Hey, that's good news. I shoot an HK VP9 fairly often, and I'm like $50 a magazine. It's rough. So
it hurt.
But that's a big component for people buying guns. People that I talk to a lot in gun stores and through the podcast and everything else is, man, how much are the magazines? Because I have to have 6 or 7 magazines, and that gets pricey really, really quick. So that's really good news.
And it will ship with 3 magazines, so just letting everyone know.
Show off. What about safeties?
Okay, so we have the patent pending integral trigger safety. The only way we were able to do that is because of the chassis design. And it's not something we've really gotten into, but like the SIG 320 or the Ruger American, the Hudson H9 is a chassis design. So we were able to create a geometry on the bottom of that to interface with that safety. You really don't feel it. It floats, but it works. And then we also have an option.
Yeah. So our initial offering, the H9, is going to, you can tell from the sides, we don't have the manual thumb safeties, but it's already built with the option that will be available on e-commerce to do left, right, or ambi thumb safeties for people that like to ride their thumb on something.
Yep. End user configurable, meaning that you take off the slide, you pop out those little, I guess, plugs on the end, and then you can install your safety however you want it.
So every gun can or may not have a safety. It's not a totally different SKU or model.
Correct.
Oh. They will all have that integral trigger safety, but you will have the option if you want to run the left, right, or ambi. And there's not a grip safety up the back. I know from the aesthetics, some people are worried that we maybe kept that from the 1911. They know there's some 1911 heritage there. There's not a grip safety back there.
Yeah. And of course, there is a drop safety. We will say that for liability purposes at this time.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to ask that next. You know, the other 2 safeties, would that be a typical, firearm pin block, drop safety, that kind of thing? That's one of the things that I'm curious about whenever I say I want to take it apart and look at it. Are you using the safety ramp and the plunger and all that good stuff? It gets just curious how you did all this with that trigger.
Yep, the heritage there is a lot more akin to a mating of a SIG 226 and maybe the more modern M&P or FNS. But yeah, there's a ramp. It is a regular drop safety in there, but the actual disengaging, I don't know how much you play with the 226, but it has that little sharp little pin that pops that up. Mm-hmm. It's definitely in that, I guess, family category.
You mentioned briefly, and I just want to highlight it, your magazine release, it's not ambi, but it is user configurable for left or right-hand side. Is that correct? That's kind of how I heard it earlier. That's
correct. You can swap it out left to right. We did find out when we were doing all of our initial R&D that your hand kind of blocks you from being able to release your mag if it pushes all the way through to the other side. So with the true ambi configuration, we decided to just allow people to switch it out.
And not knocking on anybody's brand, I'm just going to say that one of my buddies came over and said his mag was sticking, and we were sitting there messing with it for hours, and finally I got to repeat it, and I was like, oh, it's the ambi mag release. Whenever you push one side, the other one's sticking, and where your hand sits on it is blocking you from dropping the mag. And so that actually Gen 1 had a full ambi magazine release, and we abandoned that in favor of the reversible. I think there's some great competitive shooters who drop it with their left or right, and they run it however they want really fast. We said, well, let everybody else have the choice.
Yep. And actually, I've seen that too. It's getting a bit more popular to be a right-handed shooter and releasing the magazine with the right index finger, with the trigger finger.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's interesting. I've been testing it a little bit myself and have had some pretty good results that I wasn't really expecting. What else is on this gun, feature-wise, or things that you did to it that I don't even know about it? Because I've seen the things on Recoil, the quick little piece that they put up there on Recoil Web, and I've been to your website and been on Facebook, but as an interviewer right now for a gun that nobody knows anything about, and I just heard about this thing like a week and a half ago when Steve Fisher was on the show, and then I started looking into it a lot heavier. I don't even know what questions to ask. You probably have all kind of really cool stuff that I haven't even asked about. So what are those?